sell in May and go away. Is that the scenario that we're entering right now? Because since the turn of the month, so over the last 5 days or so, we have actually not seen any gains in the market. Is it the beginning of the prophecy? We shall see. How's it going, everyone? Welcome into a Monday morning live stream. I got a hat on today because my hair was wildly fluffy and I didn't feel like taming it before the live. Now, today we are going to go through the decentralized science news landscape. We're also going to visit some of the charts and talk about the idea of sell in May and go away, which is a very well-known saying that I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with in the markets. Usually a lot of the rich people, a lot of the Wall Street people like to go on vacation over the summer, and so they just leave volume tanks and the market doesn't really perform as well in the summer months. We will see if this year is the same or if this time will be different. The most dangerous words you can say, this time is different. But actually though, this time is pretty different. The market is a lot more volatile now than it usually is. And so we will see if it actually ends up playing out like that. But for the time being, I don't think this pullback is indicative of anything. For anyone who's watching the live stream back after the fact, this pullback here is not really a pullback even. Really, it's just chopping sideways slash trying to retest some of these areas of support so that we can get a clear confirmed push to all-time highs, at least on Bitcoin. If you look also, a little fun moon phase chart for you guys to see, I will say historically the moons are pretty damn accurate. We got a full moon here, which caused a spike for 2 weeks, and then we switched over to a new moon, and it is starting to fall off a little bit. So the pullback period would last for another week or so before the moons switch again, and then all of a sudden it's uptime only. It's just something fun that I like showing that shockingly is super accurate. I think personally what we'll see on Bitcoin is a pull back down to the low 90,000s, probably grab some people's stop losses who are long, and then kind of trudge higher marginally along this dotted line for a week or two before we get that next leg to all-time highs. But I do think that the next leg here will bring us up well above 100,000. I think that we'll start entering into the territory of putting in a new all-time high for Bitcoin. As far as the other coins out there, I am not hiding a bald spot. Thank you very much. The exact opposite. I have too much hair. I needed to contain it. And I'm wearing a Joyage hat. Shout out Cade. If we go look at some of the other coins in the market right now, like Ethereum, we see that it is also in a area of just stagnation. We're just chopping sideways for a little bit, so not much to look at here. Hopefully we don't continue the sell-off for Ethereum. Hopefully that is the bottom back here at 1,300. That was insane to see. And hopefully we can actually just hold this for another week or so and then continue higher. RSI on Ethereum is looking really good. It did not get even close to overbought, unlike Bitcoin, which barely tapped overbought. Reminds me very eerily of over here, right? When Bitcoin tapped it, came down, tapped it again, came down, and then finally broke above when it really got going. So a little bit of a stair step with Bitcoin just getting a little reset in the price action. Then you go look at Solana, same thing. It looks just like Ethereum, only a little bit better. Not nearly as good as what Bitcoin looks like out there. I don't really pay attention to any other altcoins, but if you go look at some of the bigger altcoins, I was viewing Sui earlier today, and Sui looks pretty good. Sui looks really good actually, as far as a nice breakout here. So they had, again, the same bleed from $5 down to $2, and then a quick pop. What's the other one? SEI, the one that's really getting into DeSci here lately. Say, I don't own any. It's $1 billion market cap. We go to Max, and they are looking more like the ICPs of the world and the Cardanos of the world than the Solanas and the Suis. But either way, it's a good opportunity, I think, for just small, safer returns, right? You might get a nice 3 or 4x on this puppy. Maybe if we're lucky, we get some of these altcoins pushing back to all-time highs. I think it is super possible that we get those, but we do need first to see Bitcoin really just push out of this range, and we need to see dominance coming back down. Right now, dominance is not any signs of weakness. We pumped when you get a haircut. We pumped when you got your haircut rugged. Maybe it's time to bring back the failed mullet cut last year. Honestly, I need a haircut drastically. So if it means that the market will go up when I get a haircut, I will more than happily do it. I need a haircut anyways. So maybe it is time. You bring it over to some of the news for DeSci before we start looking at some of the more intricate micro caps out there. And I'm happy to go through any of the micro caps. I was looking at NFNT earlier, and they honestly held up really well. Like, they had their obvious giant spike when everything was getting the spike, and then they collapsed down, but where they collapsed down to was not lower than the stair-stepping motion they were in before. So they look actually really strong, NFNT that is. And you guys were talking about Hack for a while, H4CK, and Hack is looking really good as well, right? Not overall, right? The chart itself is not looking beautiful, but the setup that we're seeing right now is looking beautiful. We had that pop, drop, and lock it, and now it's coming back to life. So I think, honestly, Hack is one that you can probably play on the rebound quite aggressively here. You go look at the log and it looks a lot better, right? But you see how strong it's been. It is coming back to life pretty aggressively here, and you got like a solid 1,600% gains to get back to all-time highs, 2,000 almost. So there's a lot of movement left in some of these coins. That is a really beautiful setup that a lot of traders will look for, is when you see that clear rebound and that coming back to life. A lot of people will go into those trades. So, all right, as far as the news, what Bill wanted us to talk about here today on the live stream. First up, we have from Genomes, thrill-seeking paid query launches tomorrow, and that was today. So get ready for it. Get rewarded for contributing to research, all while keeping your genetic data private and secure. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to know? We go over that kind of stuff every time we talk about genomes. Same story, different incentive. Next up, we have DAO. Now, I pulled up this one because it is a little bit interesting here. So Psych holders want to deploy hash power to mine Tari. Launch this week, followed by Knock, launch in 2 weeks, and then Dark. Jump into the discussion and make your voices heard. So I don't know what Tari is, or Knock, or Dark. So if any of you guys are familiar with it, I would appreciate you letting me know to see what exactly it is. But I didn't even know that DAO had mining power to go towards some of these things. Yeah, this right here, this color scheme for Tari is reminding me of Creator Bid. So after we go through the DeSci news, I want to talk about Creator Bid's new incentive program and the emissions that people can earn for endorsing agents. As most of you guys probably are endorsing Bill, so you're going to end up earning some Creator Bid rewards here pretty soon. They just announced a change in tokenomics today. Sacrifice, sacrifice. Bought a little bit of Hack and Bill yesterday. Let's go, David. Bullish. This is not the time to spend on haircuts. Well, I wouldn't spend it on a haircut. I'd just have Amanda do the haircut. She'd come in, just buzz me bald, and then bam, sacrifice, save some money, get a little bonding experience. No, I don't want to go bald. But I agree. Let's say a haircut's going to cost me $40. I could go take that $40 and maybe I hit a good 100x this year on something. It's been a little while. Haven't hit one yet this year. Mostly. 100x on $40. That's $4,000. What the hell? Why would I spend $4,000 on a haircut when I could get 100 haircuts? I could be set for life on haircuts. Next up, we have Cerebrum DAO. So Brian here, speaking at the Capital for Cures Summit in Basel, Switzerland. Basel, I don't know how to pronounce it, but in Switzerland. So at a pretty cool looking summit here, hosted by Slate Mountain Capital, the event brings together healthcare investors, industry leaders, and innovators exploring new models of impact-driven funding. So over and over and over again, we're really just in that early adopters phase for decentralized science. And I know I bring it up all the time. Good evening, oh man, no. Welcome in. I'm happy to have you here. Oh my God. Good morning, C90. Good morning, Beagle. Good morning, David. Good morning, Zaj. Good morning, Derek. Good morning, David. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are amped up and ready for today's live stream. I'm sorry, I didn't even say good morning to everyone, even though it is afternoon. Good evening. It's really just, we're in that early adopters phase for decentralized science. And so what we're seeing is a continuous pressure from players in the industry going in front of as many people as they can possibly get in front of that are impact driven. So getting Brian from Cerebrum DAO to go actually talk at this event is good for bringing in new fundamental users of the technology here in DeSci. So it takes some time, especially with the academics. You have to convince them that it's better, but they are putting in that time, and the time's going to pass regardless. The time is going to pass either way. And so you might as well just follow along, because one day you're going to look back and be like, damn, I can't believe that everything was happening so coherently and so clearly, and I just kind of sat there not taking action on it. That's the last thing you want. The last thing you want. And so where we continue to get advancements like from CryoDAO here, where they're checking out location sites for an upcoming Biostasis Foundation facility for their stasis token, what do you know it? All of a sudden, another DAO just continuing to put in work and making progress, right? They're literally going to start doing on-ground work in actual facilities. So hell yeah. There wasn't a ton of news here today, so we got two more stories for you. First one up out of the last two, so really it's the fifth or sixth one up here, but Poseidon DAO. A little bit of a reminder as to what they are building with We Cura. Now this guy has some flow under his hat. Now that guy has some flow under his hat. Yes, he does. Look at that. Damn. Damn. Got crazy flow. And look at that. We got Bill here. The future is frozen. And it's looking fire. Out in Texas, Freeze Brain, Big Moves, CryoDAO, and the American Biostasis Foundation. Hell yeah. Stasis isn't sci-fi anymore. It's science in motion. All right, Bill. It's a little too ChatGPT-y. Too often, not the researchers. Too often, not the researchers, not the patients, not the public. It's time to fix that. Oh. AI is transforming medicine, but who controls it? Too often, it's not the researchers, not the patients, not the public, and it's time to fix that. Poseidon DAO is building We Cura. Poseidon DAO is building We Cura, a precision oncology AI platform that predicts patient-specific cancer drug responses based on gene expression patterns. Citizen science that contribute curated data will get rewarded in SCI tokens. There you go, another use case for the SCI token. Our community researchers and clinicians govern model evolution. It should be a community tool to save lives, open, fair, and continuously improved. Hell yeah. Okay, what's going on? Mods! Zach, how dare you? Alts are never coming back. How dare you, Zach? What the hell is that? What the hell? Get him out of here. Someone ban this man. You can always be reborn, but as a new person, new persona. Last one up here is a Dynex April recap. So, in light of Dynex selling to new all-time lows, I figured let's go through the recap of what happened last month. Now, it's not exactly all-time lows, but it basically is all-time lows. So now that we've all lost a little bit more money with Dynex, let's go ahead and visit the April recap, because that's all you can do right now. Number one. Let me take a sip of water before I really get into this. Love me some good bubbly. Dynex April 2025 recap. Number one, from LLM breakthroughs to partner expansion and product rollout, here's the recap of what happened on Planet Dynex last month. Advanced quantum education. They launched the Dynex Moonshot book, a practical guide for tomorrow's quantum engineers, and expanded our curriculum efforts with Sonia College. Preparing the next generation to build with quantum, education is the gateway to quantum adoption. Yep, it's a slow process. You got to get everyone familiar with how this actually works, how you can actually create using simulated quantum computing. Then the next thing, they had new integrations of partners. Kali Technology Solutions. Kali brings AI, immersive tech, and enterprise system expertise across real estate, education, and infrastructure. The Dynex Quas will power the next generation of solutions with quantum-enhanced performance. Number 4. Benchmark breakthroughs on truthful QA. So, as one of the benchmark tests for large language models and small language models, you have this as one of the truthful benchmarks. So, their quantum-driven large language model, the QD-LLM, with an 8 billion parameter set, outperformed major baselines in factual accuracy. So, Llama and Lada from Meta both had accuracies of truthfulness below 50%. Dynex came in and outperformed by 8 and 10% on its model. This is a very good sign for people who want to have reliably truthful AI that doesn't just make up stuff. It tells you the truth, tells you the real information. Now, this is with Dynex's 8 billion parameter model. So if you remember on Friday, Yeti came in and said that they were working on a 400 billion parameter language model, which would obviously have much greater results. But with their 8 billion parameter model, they've delivered a 47% on the math benchmark, outperforming top-tier diffusion and autoregressive models. This validates quantum diffusion as a scalable path for complex reasoning tasks. So they're doing it a little bit differently than the traditional transformer models. They're using quantum diffusion. So they're really pushing the boundaries on innovation with this one. Then test measures symbolic problem solving, essential in all fields like finance, engineering, and scientific research and development. This shows real-world potential of Dynex's neuromorphic quantum architecture. You can read more about the benchmarks here in one of their articles. So traditional ARM, traditional diffusion, quantum diffusion. Definitely scoring better on all of the benchmarks for math. And then they're just comparing it to Lada and Llama apparently, but they scored 13 and then 27 and now 47. So a very, very, very good score when you compare it like that. And then you got traditional diffusion and traditional ARM for the truthful QA. I'm curious to see what else there, like how will the other tests go? Even if they underperform, I really want to know how it works or how it performs. This whole article, actually, I'm probably going to read through after the live stream because this looks pretty interesting. How Dynex matched and even surpasses Google's Willow chip benchmarks in quantum computing. Dynex versus IBM's benchmarks. So you see the complexity increasing. Dynex being correct all the way through, but IBM failing as it got to certain levels of complexity. And then Dynex volume. There is nothing compared to Dynex's volume. It really, like, quantum computing volume of 2 to the 119th. The fuck? That's insane. So 2 doubled 119 times. That is a lot of volume. And then quantum computing performance. But we already knew that. We also see the cost benefits of using Dynex versus traditional costs because everything just scales insanely when it comes to resource intensive use when you're using traditional compute versus quantum computing. So again, another one of those beautiful comparisons for Dynex. But let's go back into the updates. Number 6, how low do you think Dynex can go? It's already lower than I thought it would ever get. So I have no idea, dude. Really no idea. Number 6, Dynex Web Wallet relaunch is live. Completely rebuilt for speed, security, and performance. Features include instant blockchain sync, no legacy containers, auto fusion engine for efficiency, minor user wallet separation, 2-factor authentication, and 99.98% uptime. And then, of course, Forbes featured Dynex's QDLLM as a new paradigm for efficient, scalable AI. Really exciting to see Forbes talk about Dynex. Then we had Dynex releases official QDLLM developer roadmap. Dynex is scaling its QDLLM models to new levels. So this is the different phases of it. We got baseline benchmarks at 8 billion parameters, then production ready, 1B to 80 billion models. And then frontier scale, 400 billion plus advanced reasoning. And then phase 4 is distilled 32 billion model for fast inferences. So this will be interesting. Right now we're in phase 1 of the entire thing. And I believe phase 2 is when Bill will start getting access to it for those closed beta testing to see what an AI agent can do on a quantum large language model. So that's really going to be crazy. And then the little summary here. So hell yeah. As far as how low can Dynex go, truly, again, I'll say it's gone a lot lower than I ever expected it to go. And so any guess that I have right now would just be a guess, and it would be a painful guess. So it's now lower than I ever expected it to go. It's literally sitting at a $2.5 million market cap for something that is outperforming a lot of major large language models. We literally just saw its benchmarks. We see their roadmap. We see what they're capable of. We see how good they're doing. My expectation for Dynex, and this is probably not that profound for anyone, but if we are to just take a step back with it and acknowledge it for what it is, my expectation is that we will continue to see this sell-off. We will continue to see a sell-off, right? Until they have some sort of crazy announcement. I mean, I'd be super shocked if we broke below $1 million, but until we see some sort of announcement about what Dynex is capable of with their quantum large language models, we're just going to continue to sell off. However, when we do see that announcement, I believe it literally just goes like this. Straight up back above all-time highs. Because you got to remember, even up here, this is not that large of a market cap. This is still only $100 million market cap. That's not that crazy. And so I don't think that we'll see it like a normal coin because of how decimated the chart looks right here. I think it's going to move in those super aggressive quick moves that last a month or two and you see 10,000% returns, right? That's what I think ends up happening. I don't know when it will happen, but I'm positioned aggressively for it to happen. Maybe we see it last for a couple months, 3 or 4 months or something, and you see some crazy returns shooting it up to $5, $10, $20, right? Now, I don't know if that's actually going to end up happening. Nobody does. But based off how it has been performing, I don't think that we're going to see it just have one of those slow, like, oh, it stopped bleeding here, and then it's just coming back to life a little bit. I think it's literally just going to be like, oh shit, they broke some crazy record news, and it just goes straight up. Does it happen here? Does it happen here? I do not know, and neither do you. And of course, there's always the third option, which is it goes to zero, like Zach says. Mods! What news do you expect for the pump? Let's go, Wild Africa. Let's go. The news that I expect for the pump, genuinely, is Dynex coming out with an article, right? Let's say Dynex hits their milestones, hits their goals here, right? And in phase 2, or phase 3, all of a sudden they release a DeepSeek style LLM, and it works just as good, if not better, than ChatGPT or Llama or some of those other large language models, right? And they come out and say, hey, guess what? This took us 8 months to build, and it uses 1/100th of the amount of energy, and it scores better on every single model, and you can use it for this cheap subscription fee, whatever it is. I think it has some sort of moment like that, and we get a savior from this downward momentum because everyone just floods in to go use it, to experiment, and they see that it is actually crazy, and it kind of opens everyone's idea to the fact that quantum computing is going to be the future for artificial intelligence. There is no world, let me be abundantly clear for each and every one of you guys here, if we draw out the trends that we're seeing in artificial intelligence right now, and we draw out the amount of energy that's needed and the amount of space to host these large cloud computing programs and softwares and infrastructure, these compute servers, right? You're talking like football fields of just NVIDIA chips, okay? If we draw that to its logical conclusion, what we have is entire states, entire small countries filled with computer servers to run the world's artificial intelligence. That doesn't make any sense. That is not reasonable at all, which means you will see people eventually shift from traditional compute for AI to quantum computing for AI. There is no world in which we continue on and 20 years from now, we are not using quantum computing for all of our artificial intelligence, right? Whether that happens in 20 years, whether that happens this year, whether that happens in 10 years, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it is clear as day if you look into any of it that you cannot continue to build and scale to the scopes at which everyone is expecting on traditional models. You're already seeing a slowdown in the training parameters. We are already seeing OpenAI come out and say that the transistor model that they're using right now, they trained it with 1 billion parameters, and then they did 100 billion, and then they did 1 trillion, and then they did 100 trillion parameters. And they're already seeing a massive slowdown in the efficiency of the AI with the current model for training it and hosting all of it with the computational power that we have. And at the end of the day, that is something that quantum computing can solve. And so whether it happens now or whether it happens in a decade, I don't know. But with Dynex working on a solution right now, I tend to believe that this will be something that opens everyone's eyes. It will be an aha moment if they can actually pull it off. So it's a big ask. It is. It's a big if, but they're working on it. And because we're paying attention, the 23 of us here in this live stream watching it right now, because we're paying attention, you can actually go in and see that their benchmarks are outperforming the traditional models already. And so we get a little bit of that insight, a little bit of that excitement beforehand. But you guys know I'm very, very aggressively bullish on Dynex, despite having lost tens of thousands of dollars alongside with all of you guys as it just keeps plummeting. I'm back, bitches. Let's go, Don. What's good, Vibra Finance? Keep crushing it, bro. Thank you, boss. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. They got a fabrication deal for the chip, so they get that done sometime in 4 to 6 months. They should do it. That's the other thing I didn't even talk about. They're working on a room temperature quantum computing chip right now that's going to be production ready with 1,000 simulated qubits. Dynex, Google broke the internet when they released a 106 qubit chip. The computational power doubles with every additional qubit, and we're talking about Dynex working on a 1,000 qubit room temperature chip that you could just plug into any computer you have and start running a simulated quantum computer, which means you don't have to pay for the infrastructure costs to get quantum computers out to everyone because you can just plug it into a regular computer. It scales quicker than anyone could ever imagine. It is better than just regular quantum computing because you don't need to wait for the infrastructure to get global scale because the infrastructure is already there. Everyone who already has these massive warehouses full of computational chips, full of NVIDIA chips, can just start running the program and it is there at scale, ready to go. You guys get it because you're watching and because you listen to me rant about it all the time, but we need the aha moment to happen. The aha moment will happen when they deliver on this AI. That's my hot take on it. He escaped. What did Don do to Thuna? I don't know, man. I don't know. He's in fish therapy right now. What the hell? Don took Thuna to the island. Zach, mods. There's no island. Like, let's hold on. I want to take a second and go look at this, okay? How long did it take to train DeepSeek? Okay. Two to 3 weeks. 2 months. Damn. 54 days. 15 trillion tokens. So this actually might come out a lot quicker than expected. Dynex has been working on their model since November, or not really since November, but since February of this year. Dynex started researching how to do the model back in November, and then in February they said they started building the model, and so they're already benchmarking it, they're already testing it and finishing. Apparently they must be close to finishing the training. But we're in month 5, right? So they're about 3 months into all of it, which means in the next couple of months, I would expect to see some crazy outputs from Dynex. I got new pants here and the pocket is sewed shut. And so I need to undo that. I would expect some crazy news to come out here in the next couple of months, potentially just the next couple of weeks, to see Dynex really putting in some stuff. That's some efficient Google searching right there. Stare. What the hell? I don't know if you're making fun of me or not. Not trying to FUD, but do we really think tiny company like Dynex can really make a chip like that when the big companies cannot? Big Bon redacted the message after I was already starting to read it. That's the big risk, right? That's the big question mark. That's the big question mark. Now, the difference is that Dynex is working on the simulated quantum computing. So the other companies right now are working on creating quantum computing chips that are actual quantum computers. Dynex is working on a simulated quantum computer inside of regular chips. And so it's a lot less technologically iffy, if that makes any sense. Like getting a complex multi-state system to cooperate in order for you to actually recognize and see all the different states of the electrons and of the photons inside the system, that's going to be difficult. That's really difficult. That's not what Dynex is trying to do. Dynex is working to do simulated quantum computing, which means it's a lot easier to get it to that point. Now, it's not true quantum computing, but it gives the same output, right? And so you actually get the same result with less effort. And so it's a good stepping stone, in my opinion, to get the world used to quantum programs. And then whenever they figure out how to make room temperature quantum computers that are millions of qubits, then you can segue entirely onto a real quantum computer. But in that intermediary, in that interim, you're going to get cheaper compute, you're going to get less energy waste, you're going to get a much faster result. And so it just makes a lot of sense. Hey, you can't edit messages here. Yeah, trying to fix the typos. Well, fix them and send them back. I want to see the message, Big Bon. Please, come on. Yeah. And so the reality is I've not seen many other companies working on simulated quantum computing. Now, I do know that Dell is working on it. I do know that Dell Compute is working on simulated quantum computing, meaning there are other companies that are interested in it. It's just the people with a ton of resources are focused on that race to get the first real quantum computing out at scale. What Dynex is doing is working on that stepping stone, that interim, that period of time in which the world has not got the infrastructure for real quantum computers everywhere, but still needs the ability to conduct that compute. And they can use things like Dynex and use things like their chip. So we'll see. I'm going to tell my kids that Patrick is the child of Bill Nye and Mr. Frizzle. What the hell? I hope they make it in that time. They will. We're still a good chunk away from getting those quantum computers at scale. And so Dynex, like I said, acting like that stepping stone to bring us from traditional computers to quantum computers, we need to segue over to get there first. We need to get everyone familiar with quantum programs, and then gives everyone time to put out the quantum computers at scale in a cloud fashion. But in the meantime, you get Dynex and Dell if they manage to do it, but some of the other companies that are working on this interim to gain a bunch of market share and give the same results for much cheaper. We'll see. If that all does play out, then Dynex is a multi-billion-dollar company. You go look at D-Wave. D-Wave is one of the only other companies working on it at scale. And you go look at D-Wave. Chart looks a lot better. Let's go see D-Wave's market cap. $2.14 billion, right? So you have to go look at the revenue and everything to compare it apples to apples. But if we're just going to do a very quick, non-detailed comparison, a $2 billion Dynex would put us up 1,000x from here. It would put us at $20. A $2 billion Dynex. So if Dynex were to get similar to their competitor D-Wave, you're looking at a $20 Dynex. And so I think that when we do see the announcement of them with their successful quantum diffusion large language model, I think that we shoot up very quickly to be on par with something like D-Wave. Very quickly, you see Dynex shoot up to that $1 billion threshold and higher, because that's where it belongs. That's where the value is. Veracity VRA is a sleeping giant. Not a Mr. Frizzler that I know about. All right. Oh. Mrs. Frizzler. There is no Mr. Frizzler. Dynex token and company are tied to each other, or Dynex as a company is separate entity? Very good question, Venki. Very good question. So Dynex and the token are extremely tied together. So in order to pay for the services from Dynex, you need to have a subscription model and use the tokens for the gas fees. So for every job that is done on the network, you're going to use gas fees. And let's go to Dynex, and let's go to Dynex for realsies. I clicked on so many things. Let's go to their website, go to their network, and take a look and see that every job that they do on the network, right? So we had last month we had a little bit of a stall out in jobs, but you go look, every job that they do, which they just crossed 1 million total jobs, which is a good milestone. I'm probably going to make a post on that here, but they just crossed 1 million jobs, average of 44 seconds for a job, and they use a little bit of the Dynex token as fees for those jobs. And so that reward goes to both miners and it goes to the people who have locked their 0x DNX in the DHIP, the Dynex Holder Incentive Program. And so people like myself who have my entire bag locked in that program are earning Dynex every single day as the network has all this activity. And then you can also see the buybacks in the Dynex wallet here. So far they've bought back 2.5 million Dynex over the last couple of months, with most of that coming in March and April here. And this is, you can actually see this on chain, on their chain. They're working to make it not a privacy chain. So they're working to give everyone the access to see every transaction that happens on the network. They were trying to keep their customers private, but the community said we need to see the transactions or else. And so they were like, okay, all right, we'll make it a regular chain with a block explorer then. So yeah, still not updated. They're missing 3 weeks of information. Shit. But you can see they've been buying back Dynex consistently, very consistently. And it's up to 2.6 million Dynex tokens. So they've pledged to buy over the next couple of years, they've pledged to buy $10 million worth of Dynex. And so with Dynex sitting at a $2.5 million market cap, if they purchase $10 million worth of Dynex, you think the market cap functionally cannot stay below 10 cents, because that would be $10 million. And so that would mean that they end up buying the complete supply plus some. So as they continue to just dry up supply from the open market, you'll see this slowly bottom out and then have quick spikes up when they start coming to the end of that. Now that might be a while, right? Because they're going to continue to do buybacks for years. And so that might not be until the end of 27 or something that you see Dynex really get that crazy spike to 10 cents. And if that was all that there was in it for Dynex, then I wouldn't be in this, because that's not good enough returns. Now that's good returns, don't get me wrong, over the next 2 years to see it go from 2.5 cents to 10 cents. But that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it for the reveal of the QDLLM and for the segue from regular compute to quantum computing. Now, I've been on this rant for quite some time during the live stream, but I want you guys to understand my conviction in things like Dynex. It is such an obvious play. Quantum computing, that is. It is such an obvious play for anyone who understands where the technology is going. Quantum computing is the answer to a lot of the problems that we've been facing with the scalability issues of the models, the AI models, and their limitation on functionality with the amount of training data that you put in. You can put in trillions of parameters. You can put in trillions of data sets and get out a marginally better model. But if you shift that model a little bit and actually give them the quantum computer to scale, that's what I think will send us into the stratosphere for these models, to get them to the point where they're actually super useful. Whether or not Dynex pulls it off is the risk that you're taking. But the solution is crystal clear, and they're working on it, and they're one of the only people in the world working on it. And so that's why I have conviction in it. If the team fails, then the team fails. But they are one of the only people doing it. And so the real only risk is if they can have that execution risk. And that's why we pay attention to it so much. That's why we're watching consistently to see, are they continuing to pull it off, or are they really struggling? And they're continuing to pull it off. So my conviction will not waver unless I see that change. If I see that change, we'll see it, because we talk about it every single day. But until that moment, I'm in it for the long term there. Why are the same wallets dumping Dynex? How do they not run out? So it's a good question, Landon. I'm assuming here that you're referring to the 0xDNX here, and you can go see that the same wallet continues to dump Dynex whenever it does dump, right? Let's do this. Yeah, you can see that they dump a lot and they barely buy any, right? But occasionally they do come in and buy a lot. And this is just the first wallet, right? This is a market maker. This is a person who is keeping the price the same as the price of DNX. So what will happen, because they have DNX and a wrapped version of DNX called 0xDNX. DNX is its own chain, which is still a privacy chain that they're working to fix to make it a public chain. And then you have the 0xDNX, which is wrapped on top of Ethereum. So when somebody sells DNX, when a miner sells DNX, or when someone gives up and sells it, they need to buy a little bit of this, bridge it, buy a little bit of Dynex, bridge it to 0xDNX, and sell it. And so what you'll see is a chart that looks like this, because they are balancing out the arbitrage between the two. Does that make sense? So it's not that they just have tons of Dynex here. It's that they are bridging from DNX to 0xDNX and then buying or selling. So you can see it right there, aggregation route. So they're bridging. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. It's like, let's say, for example, somebody on DNX just sold $700 worth of DNX. This wallet would go buy $382 or half, or whatever the math turns out to be, buy that of DNX, bridge it through that aggregator to 0xDNX, and then sell it here to keep the price the same. And it works the same on the other side. It's just that people aren't buying any of it, motherfuckers. Looks like it's bottoming out. Not to me, man. Not to me. It does not look like it's bottoming out right here. It looks like it was trying, and if we get a flip today, if today we get a flip and somebody comes in, we could probably support the floor here, honestly, because you look at that. It's very, very minimal volume to get it to stay at these prices. So if we came in and bought it up, if we all put $1,000 into it, have a $27,000 day, you'd actually see it go up nearly 30% here. So it would hold support nicely if we all did that, but I don't have $1,000 right now. I already put it in over here, and then I put 1,000 in over here, and then I put 1,000 in over here, and then I put 1,000 in over here. It also, like, they also recently just put in a full-scale exploration, what do you want to call it, analysis on the market makers that they have hired to see if they're just dumping, to see if they've just been keeping the price suppressed for the whole time, because I think the team is pretty confused as to what's going on as well with it continuing to sell. You're on log, normal chart looks to be bottoming. Well, I don't like looking at the normal chart because then it looks like it rug pulled. Still looks like it's still questionable. I mean, it's just losing momentum. It's on a limit function to 0 right now. Like, it definitely looks like it's stalling out here, but if you normalize it for percentages, it fell 50% there. That's crazy. And then it fell 50% again. That's crazy. And then if it fell 50% from there, you're looking at under 2 cents, which could happen. And guess what? Every time it drops down another penny, I throw another $1,000 in. Bam, 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 bam. Thank you, Marvin. Marvin, W's in the chat for Marvin, because that's what I wanted to talk about earlier that I totally forgot about. So hopefully you guys appreciated that Dynex rant. It's really like, you guys, yeah. Dynex is a gorgeous project. The risk is that they don't end up performing. They don't end up delivering, rather. I think they will deliver, but that's my bias. Now, as you guys can see, I have the name above my head. So clearly I think they'll deliver. And just for full disclosure, I've not taken a single penny from Dynex to help with endorsement or be that advisor. I'm not an advisor, but endorser. What do they call it? Advocate. I don't know. I forget what they call me. But next up, I just want to be clear. I have not taken any money for my opinion. It's just been my own money that I've dumped into it. The bid tokenomics. How about research coins or anything new? Not that I saw. They're just continuing to make good partnerships and continuing to push. Is the token price doing well or is it down? Okay, it's up a little bit, but not really. The moving averages on the daily, it does look like Research Coin has flipped support on the moving averages. So that is very bullish. Very bullish. Bid tokenomics V2. Introducing the bid emissions. So Creator Bid is a ecosystem platform for AI agents. This is the ecosystem platform that we chose to launch Bill on, and they have a really bright future. They've done a lot of really good things, and they've worked with Binance, so the potential for them to get listed on Binance is relatively high. They've got a $13.7 million market cap right now, and they have a lot of influencer power. A lot of people know of Creator Bid. It is one of the best agent launchpad platforms. So if you think that AI agents have a bright future for the rest of this cycle, Creator Bid is the home of several of those AI agents. And what they just did here today is introduce V2 of the bid tokenomics. So we're excited to announce the launch of our updated tokenomics, bid emissions. I was going to give you guys the TLDR, but they have it right here. So let's just read it. In this update, we'll cover bid emission mechanics, the guide on how to participate in the bid tokenomics, and the mechanism design behind emissions. TLDR, Genesis emissions of 3.33 million bid. Launch date, May 7th. Emission distributions, 50% to bid level holders. So if you hold Creator Bid and you are endorsing an AI agent, you will get 50% of that 3.33 million bid that they're emitting. Now, You will not get half of it. You will get half. You will get a percent allocation of the half that goes to the bid level holders. Then 50% to agents, with 40% going to members and 10% going to endorsers. So we'll have to read for details on this because I don't know what the difference between a member and an endorser is. Emissions funded by protocol revenue, ensuring sustainability, and emissions scheduled every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks we will be getting this emission, which is why it pays to hold and endorse Bill. If you guys are holding Bill, you should also be endorsing Bill so you can get some of that weekly emissions. Because especially right now where the market's down and out and it's just starting to show signs of recovery, if there was ever a time to really get involved and hold and endorse agents, it would be right now, because it's at the lowest price point that you'll probably see it for the rest of the cycle. To ensure sustainability, bid emissions are based on protocol revenue, so 30% of protocol fees are used to buy back bid tokens and provide liquidity on chains and sexes. Emissions are set as a variable multiplier, currently 3x of the bought back bid, ensuring the system is sustainable and growth orientated. Emissions distributions breakdown will go 50% to bid level holders, pro rata based on their bid level scores, 50% to agents, pro rata based on agent generated fees, and 40% to agent members who have locked their agent tokens in a membership. Membership multipliers are provided based on the bid level of the member. 10% to agent endorsers for signaling their faith in the agent. The Genesis emissions. Initial distributions considered agent fees earned between January 23rd and May 5th is 3.3 million bid. They're going to be issued to bid level holders, agent members, and endorsers. For future emissions, they will be calculated based on agent fees earned and the multiplier since the last emission, made available every 2 weeks. Does that make sense? Lock at least 5,000 bid tokens in the vault to reach level 1. So right now, with bid sitting down here at 5 cents, you're looking at, well, how many, I could do that math so easily if my math head was on right now. 5,000 tokens divided by 0.05114. You need $97,000. I'm just kidding. Clearly I did that incorrectly. 5,000 times 0.05114. You need $250 worth of bid locked. Not that much. Very doable. Become an agent member. Lock agent tokens using creator bid provided membership contracts. Tokens can be unlocked with a 14-day cooldown period. Members earn a membership boost based on their bid level of up to 375%. Endorse an agent. Use your bid vault balance to endorse agents, signaling confidence in their performance. Endorsers earn 10% of the bid emissions directed to the agents. Sorry. Create a flywheel for the bid token by generating a positive sum game. Participants compete for fixed emissions, incentivizing users to lock more bid tokens and increase their bid levels. Increased locked bid supply reduces circulating supply, enhancing token price potential. Higher token prices amplify emissions value, encouraging further participation and driving growth. Ambassador. Yes, thank you guys. Assassin. Would be possible to have a recap on why it is so important to endorse Bill in the Telegram. Yes, absolutely, Talkerid. I will post that today. Especially with the new announcement, I will 100% be posting it. And then bid emissions represent a fundamental upgrade, aligning incentives across stakeholders, fostering sustainable growth, and significantly enhancing the ecosystem's overall economic health. Join us on May 7th to be a part of the next evolution of Creator Bid. Disclaimer, all figures provided are subject to change and should not be considered financial advice. Blah, 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 blah. Bullish. Repost. Like. Hey, just like you guys should come like the live stream if you guys enjoy this type of content. So yeah, I'll dig a little bit deeper and I'll give a detailed analysis in the Telegram sometime today, because this is a big one. This is a big announcement. So they're putting in $100,000 towards emissions. So probably not expect the biggest ROI off of this. Like, you're not going to just make thousands of dollars unless you're a mega whale, but you will get probably a couple $100 worth of bid, maybe a little less than 100, but at these bargain basement prices right now. I think, and I'm curious to see what you guys' price targets are for bid, but I think bid's got a really strong opportunity to reach upwards of $10. Or is it $10? No, $1. I think bid has a really strong chance to get to $1. I added an extra zero by accident. Like, you see it sitting down here at $13 million market cap. So going up 1,000% is $130 million market cap. I think that it's got a good chance to get upwards of a $250 million market cap, which would be around $1. That's my rough take on it. And I think that it will happen this cycle. I think that in the next couple of months, there's a good chance that that happens, where it goes upwards of that $1 threshold. And so earning some of these rewards by endorsing Bill, and potentially earning some extra returns by holding Bill as Bill reclaims his all-time high. You got to remember, pushing Bill back up to his all-time high gives 3,000% returns. So if we can pull that off, Bill being my AI agent, Bill being the DeSci mascot, Bill being one of, if not the most advanced AI agents on the market, especially when we integrate him with Dynex's QDLLM. You guys see the full picture coming out? Especially when we showcase the powers of Dynex's quantum large language model through Bill, things are going to gain a lot of attraction really quickly. When, like, in the next month or two, as Dynex finishes that testing and I get the notice that we can start beta testing with Bill on the QDLLM, and Bill becomes the world's first ever AI agent built on top of a quantum large language model, a lot of eyes come in really quickly, a lot of attention, a lot of excitement, a lot of potential collaborations and partnerships, and just who knows? Honestly, who the hell knows? But locking up your bid, earning money on it, endorsing Agent Bill, having him climb the ranks, and showcasing the powers of what he's able to do. A lot of cool stuff coming up. A lot of cool stuff. $7 if they can penetrate UPS. What the hell? DeSci Doc needs to come back and save us. Yeah, they do. Multiply. There you go. Thank you, C90. Yes, lots of potential. We just need the market to not shit itself. And it's not. I mean, it's holding strong. It's holding very, very strong. Things are looking beautiful for that final leg up. And in this final leg up, I would expect some crazy, crazy returns. In the last leg up, we hit several hundred X's, and we hit a couple thousand X's, and we even hit 200,000 X's. Yes, RIF and Euro. In the leg before that, we hit several hundred X's. We hit a couple thousand X's. We made a ton of money. I'm assuming the same thing to take place here. Every leg up so far for this cycle, we have made several hundred X's on plays. Now, what you do with that money after the fact is questionable, but it's still been there. The plan's to do it again, and we will do it again. And time's your most valuable asset. Hopefully this was worth investing into. I appreciate you guys being here with me. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk about decentralized science and the broader crypto markets. Keep an eye on the Bill Telegram for some announcements on what to do with in your endorsements. Who the hell sold $500 worth of Bill? What the hell, man? What kind of slob buys $5,000 last month or 4 months ago, and then just sells. They sold down bad, boy. You sold down bad down here. All right, guys. Peace out.